As you can see, this is a recipe for something called alphabet pie. I figured it'd be perfect for Valentine's Day solely on the addition of one ingredient, which is cinnamon candies. And of course, when anyone thinks of cinnamon candies, they think of these little red hearts they would get from Valentine's Day from their classmates, or maybe their teacher gave them some. But this ingredient isn't even as odd as the fact that it needs alphabet noodles, which we need a half a cup of those. You'll need a cup of those red cinnamon hearts and the juice of a can of pears. You'll need the pears too, so have those set aside. You'll also need a cup of water, and then you can throw that onto your burner, set on medium, and we need a quarter teaspoon of salt. Have that going on a medium-high heat. Keep stirring it because those candies will want to settle on the bottom until your pasta is cooked and tender. This is going to take a little while, but once it's done, you can strain the pasta out, reserving the syrup. In the meantime, I baked a frozen pie shell as per manufacturer's instructions. And those canned pears I had set aside, I just took those, gave them a rough chop, had them ready to go. And then grabbing a clean, slightly larger saucepan, took 2 eggs, cracked those in, and then gave them a thorough beating. And then into that I added 1 cup of heavy cream. You can also use condensed milk. Mix that in before adding our reserved syrup. I had it chilling in a sink of cold water, but it was still pretty warm, so drizzle that in slowly so we don't cook those eggs. Slowly at first until it kind of starts coming to temperature, and then the rest can just get poured in. Mix that all in there. And then in a separate bowl have combined another quarter teaspoon of salt, a quarter cup of sugar, because apparently there's not enough sugar in this, and 7 tablespoons of cornstarch. You can sift that into your saucepan, mix it all together. It'll be a little lumpy, but it'll work itself out as you go. Give that a good mix. Return that to your burner, set on medium, and stir constantly until you can drag your spatula like that and it just leaves a clean trail. And then you can just take it off the heat completely. Add in a tablespoon of butter, a cup of pineapple juice, those chopped pears we had set aside, and I almost forgot to add in those alphabet noodles. We need to add all of those except 2 tablespoons set aside. Once all of that is mixed in, it'll cool it down a bit, but you want it almost completely cool before adding it into your baked pie crust. Once that crust is filled, you can either dress it now, or I let it sit in the fridge overnight so it was completely cooled and solidified. So wrap that up, threw it in the fridge. The next day, in the bowl of a stand mixer, I added 2 cups of cream, 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar, and just a little pour of vanilla extract. Now, wiser me would have just done a half recipe because this ended up being way too much. Once that reached stiff peaks, I was ready to take my pie out and start spreading that whipped topping across the surface, getting it all covered before just doing a little bit of a wave, kind of giving it that kind of like down home homemade pie look, and then taking those alphabet noodles I had set aside in the fridge and decorating them on top. Looked a little too plain for me, so I also took some reserved cinnamon hearts and I spread those around too, and with that the alphabet pie is complete. Now we can just admire that finished product. Looks nice, and cut into it. Cut out a little slice. I've never actually made myself a pie before, so I didn't have a pie lifter. Just had to kind of take that out with the tip of the knife, get it on a plate. That looked a little piddly to me, so there's a more photogenic sort of slice that's ready to try. And it had the consistency of pudding. It was hard to pinpoint the flavor. It tasted about as good as a pie made from cinnamon hearts and pasta water would taste. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever eaten, but it was far from the best. It was something maybe like kids would like. I would admit those noodles, they were kind of hard. They screwed with the texture. You could just garnish it with the cinnamon hearts and call it a Valentine's Day pie. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content.